Welcome to the public hearing for temporary use permit 0414. The hearing will proceed as follows. The corporate officer will provide an overview of temporary use permit 0414. Then all the letters received from the public regarding the temporary use permit will be briefly summarized. Written comments may be also submitted at this time. Third, comments will be heard by council. Comments from the public will be heard by council. At tonight's regular council meeting, we will consider the issue of temporary use permit 0414 in detail and pass a resolution in that regard.
Great.
Mr. Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The application for temporary use permit 0414 is from the Canadian Log Home and Guest House. That's the name of the company. It's located at 1940 Cranberry Place, my mistake. They're looking for a 2.5-year temporary use permit to take them through December 31st, 2016. The reason it's not full 3 years is they've been operating without a temporary use permit for this year. We're just bringing all the temporary use permit applications potentially into the same time frame, so they all expire at the end of December 2016. We've received one written comment regarding this. It's in your agendas, but just to read it out loud for the benefit of the public. Regarding George Cook's bed and breakfast or short-term vacation rental, and apologies if I stutter, it's in handwriting, and that's something, a skill I've long since forgotten. Twice I have had to call the RCMP for snowmobiles being run in the middle of the night, waking me. I spoke to Mr. Cook about this. He said it was the Fowler's overflow. I had to call out to the travelers, and they turned, but I can't read this.
Bent over.
And they bent over and patted this.
His behind.
I don't like it to be rented with no supervision. And that's it.
Okay.
So, no verbal comments received and no other written comments received, just that one quote.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my bit.
Okay, great. Right, so this is not the time that council considers this. This is the time that we collect feedback from the public. Let's let these folks come in. Probably just good and early for the council meeting. Welcome, folks. Come on in. Hi. We're just, we've got a short meeting in advance of the council meeting. This is a public hearing for temporary use permit 0414. It's about a vacation rental home. So we're just going through that process. And we're about to open the process up to comments. And I'll just inquire, is that what you folks are here about, or you're here for the general council meeting? Excellent. Thanks. Okay. So if there are no more written comments, I'd like to open the floor for public comment. And there's some rules around that, but I know that we're familiar.
Okay. My name is Jeanette Townsend. I live at 1934 Cranberry Place, right next door to the Cook residence, 1940 Cranberry Place. And they have been my neighbors there for well over 15 years. I don't recall the exact year that they moved. However, I have never heard a noise. I have never had to call anybody for any assistance whatsoever. I'm a light sleeper, and there's no noise. And as I say, I live right next door. So I just want to say that I have absolutely no objection. I am in favor of the application. Okay. I also, just late this afternoon, was asked to bring a letter from a landowner, a major landowner, who is unable to come this evening because of an unexpected circumstance. So with your permission, I'll read his letter.
For sure.
Okay. This is from Mr. John Peterson, Mayor and Council, Village of Valemount. I support the application for a temporary use permit to allow for short-term vacation rental as a permitted use for up to 2.5 years at the above noted property. I request that this letter be registered as in favor of the application, John Peterson. So,
Are you able to have a copy of that?
yes, I'm giving the original to you.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Good.
Okay, super. Great. So I'll call for comments a second time. And for those who just walked in, we're just dealing with temporary use permit hearing on short-term vacation rental. Yeah, anyways. So I'll call for comments a third time. Okay, so thank you for providing your input. We really appreciate that. And it's time to adjourn the public hearing. Okay? Yeah, Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer, and all in favor? Right on. Excellent. Good. Welcome to the regular council meeting of the Village of Valemount for August 12th, 2014. It's the vision of the Village of Valemount to strive for a vibrant and balanced community. And it's our mission to serve the community and embrace opportunity. The first order of business is to adopt the agenda. Councillor Latimer, Councillor Salt. Any changes, additions to the agenda? All in favor? Fantastic. And going through the previous minutes, any substantial changes?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty substantial one, a procedural note. On page 4, under new business, just prior to the new business, resolution 289, it should note that Councillor Blanchette stepped out during the discussions of this
Perfect.
item. Otherwise, that's it.
Great, okay. Excellent. So it's already on the floor, but we'll have a friendly amendment to amend that, adopt it with that amendment. Great. All in favor? Perfect. Super. Okay, reading file. Big item in there, the North Thompson Valley Tourism brand and marketing. Nice to see that's moving forward. Did you want to speak to that at all, Councillor Latimer?
No, actually, it'll be just Tota's coming here on Monday for their board meeting, so this will be a big topic of conversation while we're here with all of the tourism group that's joining in.
Perfect.
Sounds really exciting.
Yes, definitely.
We're working on a strategy together too.
Great. Okay, so that's the only thing in the reading file. Let's move adoption of Councillor Latimer, Councillor Salt. All in favor? Okay. Moving on to administrator reports. We've got item 8.1, Community Conversations Responses Distribution Plan. This item's for information, but it's a sense of how staff will be rolling out the conversations. Yeah.
I think it's great because it's covered electronically and non-electronically.
Right on.
So good job, guys.
Super. And thanks to our partners who help make sure that that's known.
The communications plan is a big help.
For sure. Okay, I'll move that we receive it for information purposes. Councillor Salt, all in favor? Okay. Item 8.2, water intake study funding application. So before us is, staff is looking for council support to apply for NDIT Capital Investment Analysis Program for this feasibility study. And so in your report on the second item is actually the, what do we call it? The request for proposals that would form that feasibility. So this, if we got funding, this is what we would do with it.
I just have a question. What's the deadline? I didn't see where the deadline for proposals was.
August 8th, actually, but we're always allowed to, with NDIT, they allow us to submit a resolution after the fact. Their deadlines are usually pretty tight, and there wasn't room in between the application and...
But for putting the RFP out What's the, do we not have it, there's no deadline that I saw when it had to be submitted by?
No, there's no deadline.
Okay.
We have to have that done by, not as a grant condition.
So when this goes out, then you'll decide what the deadline is for people that are gonna bid on this?
Right.
Subject to,
Is it mean how long the RFP is open?
Yeah, because it doesn't say please submit bids by, or is this just a draft?
Right. It is a draft, simply we haven't released it yet. So it's a draft because it's very dependent on the date that we release it.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
perfect. That's great. Okay, excellent. It's nice to see we're getting our ducks in a row. We could be in a position where, I hate to say, it's probably not a very popular thing to say, but we could be in a position where we have a pipeline to build with a pipeline company in town. And, in our talks with, our talks about community impact and how to manage manage the impact of the pipeline coming through town. This is one of the things that came up. So certainly it is a timely piece because things could happen at any rate. Great. So
How soon could we expect to hear from NDIT if we've been successful in obtaining this grant funding?
I don't recall this.
I don't think they meet during the summer. Do they have a meeting in August?
I thought they said there would be one in late August. It was dependent on people being on vacation and so on, so.
So sometime between now and
Yeah, I thought
probably
it
end of
was late
September,
August.
we'll hear
Just
something.
offhand, my apologies, I don't know the
Okay.
exact date.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So a motion for council support of the application? Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt, I saw your hand go up. All in favor? Okay. Consultation on amending the Federal Species at Risk Act.
You jumped.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry, 8.3, yeah. TUP, okay, so I'll just back up if you guys permit me. Item 8.3, the temporary use permit application 0414 for final consideration. The recommendation is pending feedback received at the public hearing, recommending that council consider final approval of the temporary use permit 0414 from now to December 31, 2016, allowing operation of a short-term vacation rental property at 1940 Cranberry Place. I'd like to get that motion on the floor, and I'd just like to have a small chat about that, yeah. Okay, Councillor Latimer and Councillor Blanchette, great. One thing that I just wondered was I am really glad to hear from other residents and property owners about this, and that the idea that it wasn't a huge hassle and it didn't seem to be a problem. So really appreciate hearing that. There was a comment on the other side, and it did show a bit of a weak spot there. That if somebody's having a short-term vacation rental, but there is no contact in town, if, not necessarily just for this application, but also in general, is there some way of managing that? And so I asked staff to do a little bit of research on if we're able to add conditions, what would those be like, and what options are open to us?
Thank you for that. To provide a bit of context, this is the first temporary use permit application of 4 now for short-term vacation rentals where we've had comments for or against. The first 3 haven't, there's been nothing, and those are all down to Caneview Place or at the very end of Cranberry Place. We know this is an issue though, and it's on the APC agenda, something to consider at the next APC meeting. And in light of that, I actually asked NDIT, the planning support that they provide, to do some research on short-term vacation rentals for us, and they came back with examples of the types of conditions that are sometimes placed on short-term vacation rentals. And then they looked at Revelstoke, Golden, Seashell, a number of other communities who have resorts in them or a big tourist space. And there's a number of fairly typical conditions that are put on by all of them. The first one, as you mentioned, is having a local contact. That's available. The typical conditions with the local contact is that the neighbors within 100 meters provided the information of that local contact, and the local contact is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when there are tenants at the building. The second condition is often limiting the number of people who are allowed to stay there. So usually it's up to 2 people per room and then up to 8 or 10 people per residence to ensure that it doesn't get overcrowded or overoccupied. There's sometimes conditions on there's no use of recreational vehicle or camping on the property. There's obviously ensuring that it meets the building code requirements. And then there's a variety of others, like providing information, say on our noise bylaw and good neighbor bylaw and things like that, and useful information as well. Is that a decent overview, or would you like?
Yeah, no, that's some help.
I think too that, like, I mean, you always get one rotten apple, and, if that happens, unfortunately, then we have to phone the RCMP, or whoever's having the issue would phone the RCMP. It sounds like there isn't really a lot of issues. The odd one, call the RCMP.
I live on that street as well.
Yeah.
And for the last almost 7 years, there's probably more noise and issues with the local people that live on that road than there are with the vacation rental renters. And so and I haven't had any issues with that vacation rental home or the ones at the very end of the block.
I think it's important to note too, it's my understanding that this particular one in question is the longest standing short-term vacation rental as well.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, the really great thing is those communities have temporary use permits as well. And it's really great that this sort of use is being regulated. And so it gives us a tool to sort of, I mean, these do need to be renewed, so it's not that it's there forever. It's like, for instance, existing non-conforming use, which really, you can, there's nothing you can really take action on. Whereas this will be up for renewal. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll move to approve the temporary use permit for the operation of the short-term vacation rental property at 1940 Cranberry Place.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any comments, Councillor Soul? Yeah, fair enough. Okay, all in favor? Great. Okay. Item 8.4. Consultation on amending the Federal Species at Risk Act. Staff have been contacted and asked to provide some information on this. Can you provide a little brief into this?
I think it's going to be pretty short.
Absolutely.
Since I know nothing or very little about bats. And, I think I explained in my report that I look for some people who met certain criteria and might be able to provide an informed perspective locally, captured their comments, and based on those comments, we recommend that we do provide feedback to indicate that we have observed a decline in species here.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, it's great of those community members to have volunteered their time and expertise to have input on that and sort of extend our reach. And it's nice too to be able to, as a municipality, be able to chime in and say, yeah, we notice these little brown bats are declining in numbers too. So I'll move this one. That we approve staff to provide comments on behalf of the village to Environment Canada in support of the addition of 3 species, Northern myotis, oh my goodness. We'll exclude the Latin names from this motion. The little brown myotis and the tricolored bat to the Species at Risk Act. Yeah. Perfect. Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Great. 8.5, Visitor Information Center Operations Report. So this is back with us, and in the attachment, sort of the rationale. The committee wasn't able to meet during that timeline, so it's back before us. And I'd love to get a sense of where folks are at with this one.
I'd like to see it open from April to October.
Okay. Right. And we don't have really, do we have a cost on what that piece
Yeah,
would?
but it's only a difference of, just a minute. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to find it now. I don't remember the exact amount, but it wasn't a huge, huge difference. And I mean, we're trying this as something new anyways, and to just cut it off at the knees when we've only gone through one season might be a bit drastic, but to keep it open, for the whole winter might be a bit detrimental, so why don't we go halfway in between?
And keep it open the extra 6 weeks.
Exactly, yeah. We're there over the holiday season in October, and then in April and May, there's a lot of people that start traveling, so why not grab them when they're through?
Yeah. For me, what really speaks to this is the sheer drop in numbers. Like, we can do 90% of the visitors by keeping it open the key time, really the bulk of it. So it's efficient, it does the job, and we're a small municipality. This funding really comes off the backs of the taxpayers, and I don't think this is an appropriate use it's a really, it's using a hammer it's really nice to provide to provide that service, but we're not able to provide it very efficiently per customer. I'm not sure, yeah.
Do you remember too, the report said that the numbers had dropped all over, not just us. Other centers had noticed that they had dropped off too. So it's not just specific to us.
Yeah, but either way, it's still, so just to compare the numbers, it's, I believe it's estimated at an extra 20,000, like full year is 60,000. What we did last year came to about 60,000. And I think the extended season is another 20,000. Am I?
No, not another 20,000. Sorry, I don't have the numbers right in front of me.
Do you want this? Is it contained in the report from the information?
Just a second. Just a second.
It's from the previous.
I believe I just passed them to.
Yeah.
6 or 7.
Okay.
I see the difference is only that much.
Right.
Okay, sorry, so, yeah. Sorry, that was inaccurate, it's not 20, it's more on the, about 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that is a substantial amount, but it's not $20,000. Right? I just think to give up when we're just starting something would be...
I think what I have a hard time is if there was leadership in the community to keep the visitor info center open by the people who are benefiting by it, I'd be more at ease doing this. However, I've heard none. So I've heard, we got a great letter to the, that's in this agenda from Gord Peters, who worked in the field in Lethbridge. I haven't heard a vocal comments from the Chamber of Commerce. I haven't heard from store owners. Typically when people have a service and is about to be cut, they get up in arms. So I think maybe we're in the mindset more of the tourist here and having a beneficial thing, but if the taxpayers don't want it, we shouldn't fund it. And if they're not willing to support it, I'm afraid, other communities, the Chamber of Commerce actually runs the Tourist Info Center, and that's a good model in many respects, right? So rather than having Joe taxpayer on 7th Avenue pay for the benefit of increased tourism, it goes out, it's spread more thinly. Now I support the Visitor Info Center, and it seems like we're able to get, we're able to service a lot of people over the course of the summer. It's very effective, and they do a great job. Their programs are awesome. I have family visiting right now, and they're probably down at the creek learning about salmon. But that level of service drops off too on the extended thing. So for me, it feels like
But did we go out and talk to the business owners? Did we talk to the chamber? Did we ask any questions of anybody? I'm just saying.
So
You can't get an
$6,000.
answer if you don't ask a question.
Yeah, we just had too tight of a time frame to try and.
I realize that, but I'm just saying, you know, if we want answers, then we have to ask a question.
It would have been nice
You
to
know.
be able to meet and go over this and maybe do some of this
Well,
surveying.
if council feels they'd be supported by the public to spend an extra $6,000, which is a substantial tax hit on keeping it open, by all means, you know, it's due, but it takes a little bit of, you know, oomph and leadership. As far as from me, I don't see the value. We have to spend our money as wisely as possible. Remember how we got sent scrambling when last year we missed the taxes from the Curling Society? I mean, it's a lot of makeup. $6,000 is a huge amount for a small tax base.
Is there any way we can defer this to the next meeting? It's only another couple of weeks.
What would you like to see in the deferral?
As being the chair of the chamber and being gone last week for the 4 days and not being able to meet with the people that we're supposed to meet. I mean, I wasn't the only one, but at least to be able to come back and have some public feedback. I mean, I think we're probably all in the same boat where, you're right, $6,000 is a lot of money, but it's not only our decision. And I don't know what our business owners think or feel. I can only guess.
Could do a walk around town and ask, find out.
So we could also consider, you know, instead of right from April 1st, you know, what if you wanted to have a slightly extended season, why not go from the beginning of May
To October?
the October Thanksgiving weekend? You know, that's slightly extended, but not as much as, you know, yeah, I don't know if April really, is it worth that cost for the month of April? April here is changeover season. It's not very nice in the trails. You can't really access trails or anything. So I know I have seen people pulling on the door already in April, but it's not that often. I've seen more so at the beginning of May and then into October before Thanksgiving. So, I mean, maybe we need to consider that option instead of right from the beginning of April.
So May 1st, October 12th is the other option, right?
Just Thanksgiving weekend. You know, I do know that there are other visitor centers that do not rely on funding from their villages or municipalities. So again, that's a concern. And as we know, that's a concern of the village residents on the funding that the village does provide.
So you're suggesting extend the hours, but you're unhappy with performance?
Not necessarily unhappy, no. I mean, it's not just my decision, but when you know, you did comment about the Chamber of Commerce not having any feedback.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm asking to buy a couple of weeks here so we can get some feedback, whether negative or positive. And that will be done by the end of August.
Certainly what I've heard during the last meeting was a real negative sense of the impact of the info center. And I guess it's interesting that we haven't seen sort of support from business owners at large for this service, because it's something we're providing. Went all year last year and really didn't hear a peep on that service. Now, to me, that doesn't speak to something that's super valued, but maybe I'm wrong. So we should, if we're able to take that time.
I could ask, as I say, the contract committed us to giving them an answer by the end of July. We did get an extension till after this meeting. I can't guarantee that, I mean, they're trying to put their plans in place for winter as well.
When's the contract up this year?
The contract always goes till the end of September for seasonal operations.
Do we know what kind of job impact this will have? Like how many
Local people or?
full-time hours or part-time hours we might be cutting as well? Like, I know we tried it, but even if we're considering even just that month of April, is that, you know, a month of employment that we're cutting? So it's, again, it's just, yeah, these are.
Yeah, not exactly.
You know, and I think I know a lot of the businesses benefit, I mean, ours included, with the number of of reservations that we get and other hotels within the community get, but I don't know what those stats are for sure. Which is revenue for them. So if they were open at the beginning of April and they were able to make reservations at local hotels and motels, that's more revenue for them, even as little as it may be.
And I mean, we can see the number of people walking through their doors on those dates in the sort of massive report we have from Adventure Management. And we can do some math in terms of what does that do. So, I mean, per visitor, if there's, okay, we'll just take a look. I've got the visitor numbers pulled up here. I'm going to the extended season. Yeah. Okay, at any rate, I mean, let's see if we can make a play to see if we can get more time and get a better sense of where the community's at, where businesses are at. And what I think is maybe has been missing from this conversation is I think there is a way to do the calculus in terms of what does the visitor info center bring to the community. And I think we've been a little short-sighted in terms of saying that it's something that can't be measured. I bet you it can be measured fairly effectively. We can see, what does a visitor mean, and out of 100 visitors, how many end up staying that wouldn't. You'd like some time to consult. So would this be fair, rather than striking a committee to deal with this, to be able to come back to this meeting with a good sense from the business community about what this means? Very clear. And so what we'll do is basically, rather than having a committee meeting, because in some ways we're constrained. We're in the middle of a contract with Adventure Management that allowed for this year thing, but it is a little bit awkward. We can't tweak all the details. Essentially what we can do is say yes, full year, look at an extended season, or just go with the regular season. Those are our options to us. So there's not a lot of detailed committee work. But what seems to be missing is a sense from our business owners ready to pull the trigger on this. Are they willing to back us and say, yes, this is a good decision. It's bringing money into the community. That'd be what I need to hear. Yeah? Okay, well, let's do that. We'll bring this back and we'll plead with our partners for some more time.
And anybody else that wants to submit any comments would be
For sure, yeah.
a good idea. So we'll have the report on behalf of the chamber to either corporate officer or chief administrative officer within the time frame to put onto the next agenda.
And where can others reach by email? What's
info@valemountchamber.com.
Okay.
Is council ready to have a special council meeting if that time frame is too long for
Sure.
management?
Yep. We'll get on this tomorrow.
Right, okay, and we'll try to get that out there as soon as possible. But if somebody's in the audience and saying, and hearing this and wants to either support this direction or provide feedback, we'll definitely accept feedback from the business community, and we can hear from residents too about what they feel. And that'll help us inform our decision altogether.
We have a good group of people on here this evening. Anyone wanting to speak up tonight can do so during public comment and give us some feedback already tonight.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need a resolution just to defer this? Or is it a defer or a tabling? We're deferring.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll move to defer it for.
Councillor Latimer, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Okay, item 8.6, councillor resignation and committee appointments. So,
Just before you, I need to actually ask you from a really corporate officer perspective, I believe I need at least 4 separate resolutions here.
yes,
The first 2 would be rescinding the appointment of Councillor Bullock. One from the Valemount Community Forest and Tours in Valemount, that would be a standalone resolution. The second one, rescinding the appointments to the RDFG and the ATO back as an alternate.
Thank you.
That's a request from the Regional District's corporate officer.
yes, excellent. Okay, well, let's walk through that process then. The first is, we'll rescind the, I mean, it is an open question, we can choose not to, but So the first step is, Councillor Bullock has submitted her resignation letter. We should, I move that we rescind her appointment to the Valemount Community Forest, and I can do the Tourism Valemount at the same time?
I would believe so, because they're both our committees.
Okay, Valemount Community Forest and Tourism Valemount.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Okay. And we'll do the regional district on its own, if you don't mind. We'll rescind the appointment of Councillor Dallas Bullock as an alternate to the regional district of Fraser Fort George.
Second it.
Okay. Blanchette. We will rescind her appointment as an alternate to NDIT and OBAC. We'll do this together. Councillor Salt? All in favor? Great. Okay, excellent. That's for the remainder of the municipal electoral cycle. Now, it would be really great if for 3 of these we could reappoint before the next election. Those portfolios are the Regional District of Fraser Fort George, where the meetings are on the 3rd Thursday of the month.
I think Councillor Salt had shown some interest.
Okay, great. Do you want to, or I'll...
I put my name forward.
Yeah, I'll recommend Councillor Salt for the DFFG alternate position.
Excellent. I'll second that. All in favor? Great. And these meetings are also, just for general information, they're timed to coincide with NDIT and OBAC. So they bookend the thing. They make for a rather long time, but in terms of travel, it does make sense. Although if somebody was really eager to go, both NDIT and OBAC also pay for travel expenses if they haven't already been paid to get you there. But so how will it go? Will we field a rep for NDIT and OBAC?
Well, if Councillor Salt's already going to be there, is that good to?
I'm good with that too.
Okay, right on. So I'll move that Councillor Salt be appointed as an alternate to NDIT and OBAC.
I'll second that.
Okay, great.
So Your Worship, just for the remainder of this cycle, NDIT meets quarterly, so there's only one meeting remaining, and that's in October. OBAC meets monthly, but they have big gaps in their meetings. They haven't met since April, but they will be meeting in September and October, but not November.
Simple. And we'll just get all in favor of that. That's great. Good. Okay, fantastic. And I mean, they're really as alternate, so when I'm unable to make it, but yeah, great. Okay, thanks for your help, guys. That's a good one. You had corporate officer?
No, that was great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Item 8.7, this is for information, that the Village of Valemount will be attending the Valemount Area Chamber of Commerce Trade Show.
Are we not going to do the community forest and tourism Valemount?
Oh, sorry, I made a major assumption there. No, yeah, well, let's have a conversation about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to, I mean, I'm not volunteering for either one. I'm on the tourism board, but
Do we need a liaison for tourism?
That was my huge assumption.
I can
personally don't think so. We have 2 staff members on the committee that are non-voting, mind you, but the council person would be non-voting as well. And we do get the minutes from the tourism meetings monthly that come to council, so I don't think that a council person needs to be there.
We'll just have to make a note of that, whether our tourism Valemount rep hasn't been voting?
They're non-voting.
Non-voting?
No, I believe they're non-voting.
Council?
No,
The council person?
Council person.
council liaison?
Strange.
Yeah.
No.
we
Maybe
can just
they,
check
maybe
the-
they are.
Check the
But then it would
terms of
have to,
reference.
then the terms of reference would have to change.
Oh,
Because in the terms of reference, it does say that the council person would,
doesn't vote.
that's what was,
Yeah, fair
yeah,
enough.
so.
Okay.
And Councillor Salt's already going to community forests, so
Yeah.
we've got that covered.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say, like, maybe we can just, for the rest of this term, not appoint a new councillor to Tourism Valemount. I mean, we're close to an election. Let that be consideration for the new council.
And the elections for tourism are also after these elections for council.
Okay, great. Good.
Okay.
Okay, so if we're cool, yeah, I totally assumed that, and I just went ahead. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad we had the discussion.
Unless anyone else wants to join me at Community Forest.
It's a good show. Okay, great. Moving along then. Item 8.7, attendance at the Valemount Area Chamber of Commerce Trade Show. There's a report just stating about how the village is going to be attending and what they'll be doing, which is great.
It's really good of staff to really work that together in with the chamber and really try and work together and promoting the Valemount and getting the businesses involved and showing them what we do to work with them as well. So I think it's a really good move.
Okay, motion for receipts. Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Good. Okay, 8.8.
Yeah, from a corporate operator perspective, I'd like to preempt this by saying that I've made a bit of omissions in this and I'd ask that it be deferred
Okay.
to the following council meeting.
Wow, okay, fair.
I have already found one of them.
Councillor Salt called me out.
I believe we've done these.
Okay.
We just need to confirm the dates.
We'll just do it technically. I'll move deferral, second deferral. All in favor, and we'll get this item in a corrected format. Okay. Item 8.9, appointment of Chief Election Officer and Deputy Chief Election Officer. The staff recommendation is this, that pursuant to Section 41(1) and 2 of the Local Government Act, Braden Hutchins be appointed Chief Election Officer for conducting the 2014 general local elections, with power to appoint other election officials as required for the administration and conduct of the 2014 general local elections, and that Cameron Bell be appointed Deputy Chief Election Officer for the 2014 general local elections. Okay, Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Okay, getting ready. Moving into 9, Economic Development Officer Report. 9.1, there's a monthly report for receipt. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt, all in favor? Great. These reports are in their entirety online, and they're pretty good reading. Item 9.2, Resort Communities Request for a Letter of Support. The staff recommendation is that we resolve to approve the request for a letter of support submitted by Dr. Nicole Beaujoy, BC Regional Innovation Chair in Tourism and Sustainable Rural Development of Vancouver Island University. And the letter of support, basically, Johnny on the spot can basically summarize the contents of the letter of support. I'll throw it to you.
They're looking to do some research and feel that letters of support from resort municipalities will help their application.
Right.
I think it's important just to note that the research project will address, they're saying the following core questions, and that's to what extent has the Resort Municipality Initiative enabled communities to enhance social and economic prosperity through tourism? What opportunities and challenges have arisen for resort communities? And also what lessons have been learned about the Resort Municipality Initiative program in BC. So I think it's going to be a valuable research project, and I fully support that letter of support to that project.
Well, there are so many, not so many, but there are restrictions to how the money is spent, so,
Right.
you know, this is where the real answers can come out.
Yes.
And then they can present them hopefully to the provincial government and say, you know what, these are our roadblocks.
Exactly. Not just hearing back, no, that's our policy, this is whatever. Somebody else up from the outside, independent, can say
Right.
how they affect communities. That's great. Okay, excellent. Did we have that one taken care of? Did we get that? Oh,
I'll second it.
yeah, and all in favor? Excellent. Okay, we've got the building inspector report, basically for receipt. Councillor Latimer, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Moving on to the bylaw officer monthly report. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt, all in favor? Here's our accounts payable report. Follow the money, people. Follow the money. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt, all in favor? So accounts payable constitutes every check, payment that goes out of this office at all. So if you ever have any questions, it's right there. Item 13.2, Director of Finance Monthly Progress Report, also for information. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? 13.3, Permissive Tax Exemption Policy, applicants for 2015, pages 96 to 127. Right. Okay, so staff has brought this to us, and in thinking about, so here we get right back into budget items and thinking about the next year, you know. It's not that long, you talk about paying for one thing and then talk about raising the taxes somewhere. Staff has recommended that we, well, they've left it to us, but they put on the table a 75% tax exemption for 3 nonprofit organizations. The history is long and storied. Up until a year ago, 2 of those paid full-on taxes for what they were declared as, and then the arena hadn't been recognized by BC Assessment ever. And so they hadn't paid taxes, and then suddenly were hit with a huge tax bill when BC Assessment found out about the building and then billed them for taxes. Yeah, so council, discussion?
I hate this.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to know that whatever we do, that us as village taxpayers are going to absorb that cost. So us personally will do that. So just wanted to put that out there.
You know, sorry, go ahead.
Last year, we exempted 100%, correct?
That's right.
Did we get any feedback from people who were not pleased with the process or noticed it on their tax bill, or was there any kind of information coming back at all from our...
Look at their tax bill, they don't typically tie it to a specific item like this. We do get lots of feedback during tax season.
Yeah, but there was...
I got a couple eggs in my
It's
house.
just general.
But I couldn't read the shell, so I don't know.
It's rare that it's tied to something like this. It's probably important to note too that in last year, the regional district absorbed part of that. For the curling club, it was not just the village.
And we can assume that they're not going to absorb this year, regional district? Or for next year?
That's probably a wise assumption.
Okay.
Yeah, Councillor Salt?
I have a point here that's in the policy that I noticed that 2 of the applicants are present, but 1 isn't, and it states in the policy, a representative from, oh, wait a minute, she is here, there she is, okay, got it, never mind, we're good. We're good, so I was a little concerned that they weren't all present and that was gonna add a little glitch in there as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can put a motion on the table and then we can talk
Absolutely.
about it.
Yeah.
I would like to put the motion on that we exempt all 3 nonprofit organizations 75% of the 2015 taxes.
Okay.
And the reason that I'd like to do that is, you know, it's still a little bit, it's a big break for sure, and it leaves them as community organizations somewhat responsible. They are a big asset to our community for sure, but I don't think exempting them 100% is the way to go at this point. I mean, even though we did it last year. And I don't think that charging them 100% after not charging them anything is the way to go either. So it's a little bit of a break, and it's a little bit of responsibility on both parts. And the community can absorb the 75%.
I thought about that. I'm a little bit of a softie on this one, and it's interesting because we have all of these. I guess my thinking on this is, I know that the curling club, for example, is really trying to get on its feet in a substantial way, and I know that they've got some new talent there and people trying to invest in that organization and get it going. I wouldn't want to accidentally be the cause of the death of any of our awesome, especially one with like an awesome building like that. So for me, I see it as a tough, I don't think we can treat them differently. I know that we went through this last year and exempted all three, and we just exempted them for 100%, which I think is generous. In a way, I would argue at this time in the history of the village, the nonprofits, I think we should go this way. I think we should go up to 75%, but I think it needs a year. That's my honest opinion, is that we should, not for this next tax cycle, but for the next one. Before getting, and just in total fairness, last year we exempted them, and I kind of thought that was the end of it. I thought we figured out how to redo our taxes and stuff and figured out. And when staff presented with me, I totally see the point. I get it. I mean, there's a big hole in our revenues, and we like to collect taxes fairly and from as many places as we can. But I would like to give the organizations a longer lead-up time to prepare for this.
So you're wanting to not exempt them at all?
Not exempt
Is that
at
what
all
you're
for this
saying?
year, yeah.
But then next year, you're gonna wanna give them a 75%?
I mean,
No,
ultimately.
he wants to exempt them 100%.
Exempt them
But then you
Until
said next year.
2016.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, and ultimately, we can't make that decision tonight. That's for the next council. I mean, every tax year it happens, and it's a bit of a, it's a little bit of a slimy political move in a way. But I do think that talking about this tonight, I think, is probably the first that they've, if I'm correct, that this could be coming up again, and that they could be on the bill for a substantial amount of cash.
Didn't we already know this the last year when we did this? We said, okay, we're doing it this year, but don't expect it, because it will get reviewed every year. And what we're looking at right now is actually, we're talking about the next council's budget. Because this is money that's going to be the next council's money. So do we really have a right to exempt for a council that none of us might not even be on?
But all of us probably use all three of these facilities, so, I don't want to leave stuff for the next council. I didn't like, I don't want to do that.
It's not fun.
But I also don't want to chop these three off at the knees when we all are having a hard time, and then these facilities are there for us to use. And if we have to all cough up a little bit of extra, like Councillor Latimer said, there's some responsibility on them, and there's some responsibility on all of us who are paying the taxes, so,
So on the $14,000, we would, if we approved 75% exemption, we would collect $3,500. So there would still be $11,500 that would be exempted.
I think we have to all work together to get through everything we're going through. So, Councillor Latimer's motion's on the table still.
Okay,
And I would
well, I
second
think
that.
we've talked it about, and,
Yep.
okay. All right, so we'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? Okay, fair enough.
Are you opposed, Your Worship?
What a wuss. Yes, I'd like to be recorded opposed. But you know what? No, I don't. I want to support. No, I've got to get my head in the game of supporting the rest of council on your decision.
It's not just supporting council, it's supporting the community.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay, so moving on to item 4.1, the Village of Valemount Bylaw Enforcement and Adjudication Amendment Bylaw number 720, 2014. What's on the docket here is that we approve first, second, and third reading of the Village of Valemount Bylaw Notice Enforcement and Dispute Adjudication System Amendment Bylaw number 720, 2014. I'm going to move that.
I'll second.
Okay, great. So Latimer? And any discussion around here? It's nice to see that we're moving these things over into the adjudication system, and that'll give Dean some more tools. Great. All in favor? Okay. Item 14.2, Village of Valemount Noise Bylaw Amendment, Bylaw 721. The council approved first, second, and third reading of bylaw number 721, 2014.
I'll move that.
Councillor Latimer, Councillor Blanchette? Okay. Any discussion on this? Again, same thing, okay. All in favor? Okay. We go to council reports, and we'll start out with a sort of a sad note. We are receiving Councillor Bullock has submitted her letter of resignation.
It would be great just to have a motion to actually accept the resignation.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Latimer, all in favor? All right, council reports.
I'll go first. I just realized too that when we discussed in the administrative reports about the community conversations, we didn't even say where all of the documentation would go. So I'm just going to let people know where they can get the information. Staff is going to make sure that the community conversation responses are available. Those are full document posted to the village website. There's a press release on how to access the document. Hard copies delivered to the library, Gathering Tree, medical clinic, and dental office, or dentist office. Hard copies available at the village front desk. And short clips posted to Facebook 3 times per week to lead readers to the full document. So that's where we can get the information. And my report, on the 28th, we had our APC meeting and we discussed chickens. I'm sure that will be coming up again. Just a note for the Chamber of Commerce, the facade program is running smoothly. I'm sure you've all seen the changes Home Hardware's made. It looks fantastic. That's part of the facade program. If you've been eating and dining at the patio at the brewery, that is on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce's facade program. And I believe that Rashmi's store has just started outlining the painting, so that's to come. And the celebration for the museum and library went off really well. We had a lot of good turnout, wonderful day, a lot of fun, and people were playing chess. The kids were doing a piñata. It was fantastic. And that's it.
I have nothing to report.
In between work, and more work, I did have a Valemount Area Chamber of Commerce Board meeting that Councillor Latimer was at, so she should have reported that.
I'm there on behalf of council.
Oh, all right. And also a Valemount Community Forest Board meeting, and that's it for me as far, and a CBT, CIP, AAP Adjudication Committee meeting this afternoon. I'm getting good at saying that. That's a mouthful. And that's it for me.
Right on. It's been a while since our last council meeting. I had some obligations around CBT. We had our teleconference meeting, which is really nice because there's no obligation to travel. We also had a rep from England with the economic development, the province's economic development program. Susan Harrod was here. That was great to give her a tour of she was here looking at the opportunities around the Valemount Glacier destination. It was nice to give her a tour of the actual site and drive up to the base of that. So Susan is working on behalf of the province, representing the province and trying to attract international investment. So great for her to be here. I really appreciated her taking the time to come. And we had a beautiful, smothering hot day and she loved it. So it was okay. It's interesting. Things are percolating on with Borealis Geopower. Seems to be working up to something. So I received a call from Craig Dunn the other day, and things seem to be moving along. Fingers crossed that they'll be doing some drilling soon. But I guess that's the thing. Yeah, and that is basically it, except for on Saturday I was able to take part of the museum's 100th celebration and the library's 50th, which was a lot of fun. It was great to see Caribou Joe author Len Fraser there, who was all dressed up as a train engineer, appropriately. So that was cool. It was a lot of fun. And that concludes my report for now. Great.
Move to accept the reports.
Excellent. Second, all in favor? Okay, we have no new business. There are some outstanding council resolutions, just for people to take a look at and see what we're working on. A calendar of events, and that...
On the calendar, the 23rd, are we going to be canceling that council meeting since...
Wasn't that already off of the schedule?
Or have we
When
done that?
council approved the council agenda in January, that
It was
meeting was
already
already struck.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay.
Could we add on to that calendar for September 19th and 20th, the Valemount Area Chamber of Commerce Trade Show,
Yes, of course.
just to make sure it doesn't fall off the radar for people to go out and attend the trade show.
Did you say it's on the 20th?
September 19th and 20th.
Oh, it's on the 19th and 20th?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
5 till 9 on the 19th, on the
Okay.
Friday night.
Right on. Okay, excellent. That brings us to public comment. So I used to have a little sheet here telling me about some notes for public comment, but almost everybody has been here at a previous council meeting. So to make a public comment, just stand and tell us who you are and where you live, and it doesn't matter whether you're in the village or not. And speak to items that came up in the agenda. That's what we're looking for.
Gord Marshall, 911 Elm Street. On behalf of the Curling Club, just want to thank you guys for any support we can get. I certainly wouldn't expect that you guys would treat the Curling Club different than the other nonprofits. They're certainly as deserving. It's just that our building is a bit bigger, a bit harder to manage, but we'll figure it out, and we thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Pete. No, please.
Hey, you go ahead. Pete Pearson, 1451 8th place now. On behalf of Legion, I want to thank you for your consideration for the tax deferment. Definitely a big help for us. Excuse me. One comment in regards to the village visitor center. I'm not sure how all businesses feel, but I do hear the sense that they find it to be a fairly serious competitor in the retail market with the marketing, the branding, telling people what they can't sell anything with the village name on it. So I'm not sure where everybody is on it, but I mean, I think probably as you're talking May 1st to October, will probably cover the whole season for 9% of the touring population, so.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks.
Barb Shepherd, 1122 8th Avenue, the Lions Club. Thank you all also.
Thanks, Gord.
And once again, Jeanette Townsend, 1934 Cranberry Place. I stayed to augment Councillor Latimer's comments about, we doubt, I live right next door, I doubt that it's the visitors that are riding around and causing a lot of noise. I think it's your locals, and I did ask questions of some young men that I know, and they know who it is, and it's not the visitors, okay? That's it, thanks.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Richard Reavers, 1800 Bailey Road. I want to speak to the Visitor Information Center. In respect, I was executive director of the Chamber of Commerce when I ran the information centers. There was 2 of them, the Visitor Information Centers for the Chamber that I worked at. And I personally do not believe that any private enterprise should be operating the Visitors Information Center, as it would be in conflict of interest with all the other businesses in the community to represent. And I would think as a community we should support a model whereby the Chamber of Commerce in this community would run it. It would give them an opportunity to have not only an office space there and an actual physical address, it would represent all the businesses in the community. And why couldn't the funding be given? Because in my model that I used is that we receive money from the municipal district, from their tourism dollars to operate the Visitor Information Center, or a portion thereof. And I think this would be a good fit with Tourism Valemount, and to have Tourism Valemount money to divert it to the Chamber of Commerce to run the Visitor Information Center. And the Information Center where I worked is that the only items that were for sale at the Visitor Information Center were from the local businesses or the local crafters, and that was it. We did not go into, we chose not to go into the model to buy from BC Tourism or any of the other things that are made in China and brought over and sold, that it was only community businesses that had their things in the Tourism Information Centers, and then we charged a commission, a slight commission for it, and that also subsidized the operations of it. Also, the Chamber of Commerce can utilize student summer staffing programs and other staffing programs that would have wage subsidies, whereas private enterprise is not, in some cases, able to do that. And and I think it would be a cost-benefit analysis for both the chamber and for the community and for the village to consider a model whereby they would support the Chamber of Commerce if the Chamber of Commerce, of course, was interested in doing such a thing, to do it as opposed to a private enterprise that is in competition with all the others, whereby the village may or may not be subsidizing a private enterprise over top of other private enterprises in the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. You're on, Owen.
Public comments?
Owen Ferguson, 9101 Elm Street. Yeah, in this day and age, emails can be sent out for letters of support or, even social media for negative comments. Of course, for anything related to village-run activities, visitor information centers. And as Administrator Yanciw said, you can hold an emergency meeting in 48 hours if you needed to. I mean, the chamber can be contacted via email votes, proxy votes. You can have a meeting on Thursday if you really wanted to. And on behalf of the Legion, the Lions, and the Curling Club, 3 facilities that I partake at, I want to thank you for the exemption. That being said, being not-for-profit or religious-based, any tax exemption should go to the public in the form of a public hearing.
Sorry?
Any tax exemption that you're entertaining could go to the public in the form of a public hearing.
Okay, further public comments?
Nelda Beeson, 1100 Cypress Road. I just wanted to thank you, Mayor McCracken, for your comments regarding the Visitor Information Center operations, as well as Pete and Rita. I do hope that you have the chance to survey the local businesses, because I've also heard these differing opinions, and I think it'd be really good to get their feedback. And it's my understanding that you probably will survey the community businesses within the village, but I wonder if it's possible to also survey the other businesses that they represent, such as in Tijon or outside of village limits, because I think they have some pretty serious concern. And Braden, your inbox is full.
All right. Smack.
I think everybody has spoken, barring Gord and Martin, and we certainly invite you both to comment now.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, thank you all for speaking, and thank you for, yeah, it's great. Motion to accept public comment. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Now we need a motion to go into in-camera for consideration of 3 items as per section 90K of the community charter. Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Okay, great.
Thanks for coming.